No question, because when your mentor dies, when your spouse dies, when your dreams, when your expectations, when your plans die, make no mistake about it, God doesn't die. Okay. Nothing about God changes. Even though the circumstances have changed, his faithfulness, his trustworthiness, the authority of God has not changed one bit. And so Moses has died, but all those promises, all those things that God did in the life of Moses, the same God has not died. And so therefore Joshua has the same access to that God as Moses did before.
Welcome to the Step Up Podcast, where our goal is to help you step up in every area of your life. I'm your host, Josh Thomas, and I'm joined by my pastor, Chris Kouba. Okay, so I have to tell you something. So when I was at Urban back in August, it's a worship collective.
Please define Urban. I'm familiar. Our listeners may not be.
Yeah, so Urban, it's
Looks
just a
amazing.
worship night. It's a worship night that happens in the heart of the city, primarily young adult focused, but it's just from different pastors, worship leaders around town. Whole deal. It's fun. So I'm sitting like on the wall, just writing in my prayer journal, and I sometimes talk to myself, and I refer to myself as Josh. And this particular night, it's crazy. The Lord was like, you need to refer to yourself as Joshua.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that sounds a lot like my mom, because I dropped the UA when I got to college, not because I didn't like it, but because I was like, no, just Josh Thomas just feels a little smoother than Joshua Thomas. But then I wrote down Joshua, and I was like, this is kind of cool. And I was like, Lord, why? He goes, well, I'm just preparing you for some things that you're about to step into, just some deeper levels of leadership or higher levels of leadership. And I think it would be good. Yeah. It's like, and I think it would be better if you started viewing yourself more as a Joshua than a Josh. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then here we are now. So isn't that crazy?
It is. Joshua is our new worship pastor.
Yeah.
This is something that's been talked about. We've been working towards this really most of the year.
Yeah.
This has been a thought of you transitioning out of young adults and then moving into kind of the worship space officially. You've been unofficially doing a lot of things for a whole long time.
Very true.
But we're excited about that. But it's interesting. You and I have had a lot of conversation about this. Yeah. And it's kind of a ready or not moment.
This is very true.
Because you've been prepared for this. You've done insurance, you've done a lot of different things in prep for this. We've worked with you on the transition and blah, 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 blah. But there's something different, isn't there?
Yes.
When all of a sudden it's like, no, you're the guy.
It is you now.
To where now it's like, you don't ask, oh, who do I talk to about this? Yeah. Because the answer's you. You and I had that conversation recently. Yes. And you asked me a question and I said, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, you're like,
because
that's your job.
Your job is to do this. So there's no reason for me to. But that's a shift. Yeah. Is that whole idea of ready or not. You remember the game when you were a kid? Did you play it? I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the tag, right?
Yeah,
you know,
ready or not.
Count type deal. And then, you know, especially when my kids were younger, I'd be like, okay, you know, give them 1, 2, 3, get up to 10, 9, 8.5, 9, 9.5. You know why? Because I knew they weren't quite ready yet. I knew they weren't quite, I could hear them still moving around. They weren't quite there. And then all of a sudden you said the phrase, ready or not, here I come. And then the hunt begins to be on. And it's interesting that child's game never kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Because I know as an adult, you're walking through right now from a job situation, right? But I've done it as well, where all of a sudden you get thrust into situations.
Like, here we are.
To where it's like, hey man, ready or not, like you may have had a slower countdown to get up there, but at the end of the day, it's 10, it's ready or not, here we go. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to make sure that you are ready. I mean, I've dealt with this. I talked about it earlier in the season on the podcast, just with, I took a daughter to school. Yeah. And, you know, we done everything we knew what to do and we prepared her. I now have another daughter who's declaring she's going to be going to Baylor and I'm excited about that or whatever. And like, it's here we go all over again. Yeah. And Hillary and I have looked at each other repeatedly, kind of just, I grab her hand and be like, we're good, right? Like not necessarily between us, but like,
how do we get here?
It's here. Yeah. Like we're in this crazy stage of 4 teenagers and whatever else. And man, everyone tells you it happens so fast, and it does. But it's totally been a ready or not moment, and you've got to begin to step into it and do what God calls you to do. I think men struggle with the ready or not moments.
Yeah.
I think in general, if you don't have a mentality that pre-decides what kind of man you're going to be, then you're going to find yourself drifting into situations that either feel overwhelming or you're drifting yourself into a situation of potential sin.
Yeah, I would say, so with the whole transition, of course, and just as it's played out, what I didn't realize then, but I realize now, is that this was God's loving and proactive approach to the situation so that I wouldn't have to be so reactive in the moment. And I think that's exactly what you're saying, that whenever those ready or not moments come, the prep piece of it is like, hey, get ahead of this stuff a little bit. But I mean, obviously we're like walking through Joshua and the whole deal. Like, PC, tell us where we're going today and what that looks like and what we're hoping to accomplish in today's conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I just think through what this looks like whenever you've got moments that all of a sudden you are forced to step, like the dad dies in the family and all of a sudden now you're the patriarch. Okay. Or the layoffs at work and all of a sudden you got to figure out how to provide. Or there's a situation to where somebody steps out and all of a sudden now you got promoted. I talked to a guy this morning who found himself in a meeting where it was told, I'm grooming you to take the company over. Wow. And so all of a sudden now he's like, oh, wow, I've got to rethink things differently. The book of Joshua chapter 1, this has been a foundational passage of scripture for me. I'm not even sure we're going to get to it all today, honestly, because there's so much rich stuff just in the first 9 verses. But there's so much powerful stuff that takes place in the beginning of this passage of scripture in Joshua chapter 1, where basically it says these words right here. It says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, the Lord said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant. Remember, the entire first 5 books of the Bible were written by Moses. They were talking about Moses' journey.
Moses is the guy.
Moses is the guy. Yeah. And it says, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now, therefore, arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, into the land that I'm giving to them, to the people of Israel. It's interesting because it's so like, hey, bro, you can mourn.
Yeah.
Like Moses was probably influential in Joshua's life.
100%.
He probably was like leaned upon him for guidance.
Yeah.
He followed his leadership as a child, and then now all of a sudden to the point where he was become his assistant. Yep. And it's like, hey man, he ain't coming back. Yeah. It's time to move on. It's almost like you can grieve. It's good to do that, but you can't live there. Yeah. We got to go. We got to pack up. We got to move forward. And what you see, this is what leaders do when a crisis arrives, when a problem is presented, when a challenge is before them, when difficulty is in front of them. They can certainly grieve what once was. They can have a moment where they mourn the past. They can struggle with dealing with the reality of the loss. But eventually, it's time to go. You got to step up. Yeah. You got to be, and here's the deal. You may not be ready. It may be sooner than you expected it to. You may not have even wanted that moment. But when that moment comes, the whole point of this podcast, it's time to step up. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to go.
This is pretty much an on-the-nose conversation for the name of the podcast today, of course. But let's talk about it for just a minute. I think you and I have talked about this before. That a lot of men struggle with the Moses syndrome. Yep. Waiting for the perfect mentor or the perfect leader to show them exactly how to do everything. I know for a fact that I find myself there a lot. Where sure. And it comes from it's not so much fear of failure, though I think that is a part of it. But it's like, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. I want to make sure that I'm honoring the people that have come before me. I want to make sure that I'm doing some of this stuff. But it can paralyze us, right, in that. Sure. And so can you speak to that?
We talked about this earlier. The first episode of this season was everybody needs a coach. We did 2 whole episodes on everybody needs a coach. So we're not saying it's bad to have mentors. Yeah. We're not saying it's bad to have people speak into your life. But the key is I can't have a mentor that tells me how to do everything. I instead need to be a man who is active instead of sitting around waiting for their boss to give them detailed instructions before they do anything. Okay. Or waiting for them. Here's what I see a lot. Wives Tell them exactly what they're supposed to do spiritually, or tell them exactly what they're supposed to do as a father. Waiting for someone else to organize the guys group at the church, right? For the guys to get together. Instead, what you've got to do is have a proactive approach. God directs moving vehicles.
Yeah, you say that a lot. I love it.
And so don't sit around waiting for you to know everything, because here's what I've found. You'll never know everything.
Yeah.
The enemy is going to tell you, you're not good enough. You don't know enough. You're not this. And instead, what God is essentially saying is, look, you've learned everything you need to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not looking for Moses 2.0.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Joshua.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I want you to be who I've created you to be.
Yeah.
You know enough, because otherwise I wouldn't give you the position.
Yeah.
But now that you're here, it's time for you to step up. It's time for you to go.
Yeah, it's very harsh. There's no gradual transition. There's no time to mourn. It's just, likewise, like Joshua, my servant Moses, is dead. And so men, like, just to address it, literally for most of us, that perfect mentor, the ideal leader that's just going to show us step by step how things are done, probably not going to get to experience that to any degree because that person just isn't coming.
Yep.
Right. And so, but what does God tell Joshua, PC? Essentially says, hey, you've learned everything you can from Moses. Now it's time to step up, and it's time to be Joshua. I think social media makes this worse too, if I'm being honest. We see these perfectly image management things of people's lives. And we talked about that in the last episode, right? The dad who always knows exactly what to say.
Sure.
Right? The husband who never struggles with his wife, right? The business owner who seems to have everything figured out. And we think that that's the reality. And so a little bit of this is like, well, I don't really think I have margin or even the freedom to admit, okay, I feel like these shoes are a little too big for me. Could you speak to that at all?
So
PC?
I've had the privilege of being able to meet and be around a number of, let's call them celebrity pastors. Let's call them guys who seemingly, if you were to look at them on social media, if you look at them online, they seem to have kind of things figured out. They seem to be on top of things and all of that. Here's what I've noticed, okay? They're all dudes. They're all just dudes. That's all they are.
Yeah.
Okay, they put their pants on just like you do every single day, one leg at a time, right? And here's what I've also found, okay? They've all got struggles.
Yeah.
They all got stuff that you don't want to, that they don't want you to know, because it would cause maybe you to look at them and not think about them in the perfect little image that they have. Yeah. They got parenting struggles. They got financial struggles. They got normal stuff. And so I think what you've got to make sure you're careful not to do, men, don't compare your normal with somebody else's perfect perfection that they put online.
It's really good.
Because no one puts normal stuff. No one puts daily stuff. No one puts the struggles that go. No one wants to watch that on social media. They want to watch your highlight reel. They want to watch your highlight film. So instead, you got to be somebody who steps up. And what I found is this: everybody's figuring it out.
Yeah.
I am more convinced than ever. The more I get around guys, the more I meet guys, the more I'm around them and realize, man, their church is figuring it out too. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just making it up as they go. Yeah. And look, they're going to give it a good little presentation at the conference that makes it sound like, oh yeah, we did this and then we did this and then we did this and it equaled this. That ain't true. They had no idea what they were doing. They threw it all together, and then guess what? All of a sudden, God decided to bless it, because that's what God ultimately does. But I think the point being is that you got to live in such a way where you are stepping up.
Yeah.
You are not worried about, do I have it perfect before I do it? I'm instead living in such a way which basically says this: I am going to figure it out as I go, but I'm going to trust the Lord while I do it, and I'm not going to let fear immobilize me to just wait around and do nothing. I want to move.
Yeah, because when fear immobilizes you, by the time you do feel completely confident, the opportunity is already passed. Right.
And here's the thing: and then your kids are grown, your marriage is drifted, your business opportunity is gone, your friend doesn't need help anymore. Stepping up requires you to have to step up a lot of times with not the full information available to you. You're going to have to, I'm not saying wing it, because look, what we're talking about with your situation with you personally, you're not winging it.
Yeah.
You got a lot of preparation. It doesn't mean you're a complete project.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're a finished thing. That means you know just as well as anybody, I got a lot to grow and I got a lot to learn. Yeah. That being said, it ain't like I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it until I know everything. Yeah. No. I'm going to go. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on the Step Up podcast today. Would you do us a favor and would you make sure that you share this with somebody else? We want more and more people to know how they can step up in their life, in their leadership, in their faith, in their family, and you can help us. So share this with somebody else and invite them to join with you as you learn how to step up here in the life of Joshua.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about Joshua and Moses' story was that Joshua was in the tent and he was in the cloud with Moses for a lot of this stuff.
Sure.
Now, he wasn't the guy that God was directly talking to, but obviously he had a front row seat more than the rest of the people of Israel to see how God was interacting with Moses and, the whole deal. But I would say, PC, what's the answer? Because this is something that I think many people, not just me, I just think this is something that a lot of people face of how do you step up when you feel underqualified, when you don't feel qualified? Give me some handles.
So ground yourself in God's presence. When God told this to Joshua, hey, Moses, my servant's dead, he ain't coming back. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you to go. He follows that up by saying, just as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. So when Joshua's freaking out about this massive assignment, God doesn't give him a strategy manual. God doesn't give him a battle plan. He reminds him of his presence, of saying, hey man, I'm going to be there with you. You don't need to I was with my boy Moses. I'm going to be with you. You aren't going to know how it all works. In fact, somewhat, if you knew, you probably wouldn't do it. But instead, I just want you to walk with me knowing this, I'm going to be with you. Here's what I would tell you, men. Walk and ground yourself in the presence of God, knowing that you may not know how it all works, but he does.
Yeah.
And let that kind of carry you. It means this, like I know one business owner I knew, this was something he did. It was a pretty cool thing. He would read a proverb a day every morning before he checked his email. It was a way of kind of like reminding him of like God's presence before I start thinking about all the things I got to do. Okay. Another guy I know spends 5 minutes in his car, praying for wisdom before he walks into the office. Okay. Those are little things.
Yeah.
It's not about knowing all the answers though. I think it's about making sure of knowing I'm not flying solo today.
Yeah.
I'm not on my own.
Yeah. So God's presence becomes the foundation when you don't have all the answers.
No question, because when your mentor dies, when your spouse dies, when your dreams, when your expectations, when your plans die, make no mistake about it, God doesn't die. Okay. Nothing about God changes. Even though the circumstances have changed, his faithfulness, his trustworthiness, the authority of God has not changed one bit. And so Moses has died, but all those promises, all those things that God did in the life of Moses, the same God has not died. And so therefore Joshua has the same access to that God as Moses did before.
Man, that's so powerful. I would imagine that's even a game changer when you really understand it. PC, do you have any scriptures that you just kind of go back to for yourself when you think about this?
I'll read you a few. Psalm 139 says, where shall I go from your spirit? Where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. What's that trying to say? One, you can't escape God's presence. Yeah. So one, from just a sin conviction standpoint, make sure you know he sees everything.
Everything.
On the other hand, take comfort. Bro, he sees everything.
Yeah.
Like you're not walking this whole thing alone. All right. Isaiah 41 verse 10, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Again, another verse that can be convicting, or it can be so comforting. Hebrews chapter 13 says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me?
Man, so good. And so it seems like what I'm picking up on is that even when we feel inadequate, or even when our skills lack or our competency lacks, God's presence is still the constant through and through.
It's literally the fuel. It's the thing that gives you the confidence to step up. It's the thing that allows you to be able to walk forward. You don't step up because of your charisma. Look, you can fake it for a little bit, but eventually it's going to catch up.
This is very true.
Right? You don't step up because you just think you got it and you can kind of fake it till you make it type deal. No, that's not true. You instead step up because of the one who is calling you. And when his presence is with you, then you can hear the words that are repeated later in Joshua chapter 1, verse 8 and 9. It says it over and over again. In fact, beginning really in verse 7. be strong and courageous.
Yeah.
He walks through like how to do that. What does this mean for you to walk through? And you step up, not because, oh, I got all this figured out. And I step up because I know, man, well, God's called me to it. So at the end of the day, God's going to equip me for anything that he's called me to.
Okay. So can we get a little, can we get a little personal, just a little bit?
Okay.
So, anyone that goes to United City Church knows that you and your family are some of the busiest people known to man. I mean, I cannot remember how many calendars you have, but I know
I have 14.
You have 14.
Hillary has more than that. I have 14.
It blows my mind,
yes.
Right? And then you have 4 teenagers.
Yes.
Can you just walk us through, Pastor Chris, some of the moments where you've had to step up in some ways that maybe you weren't? I could imagine that that moment has probably come for you a few times.
Multiple times.
Okay.
Having 4 teenagers will humble you in a fast way. Just need you to know that. It's not a strategy I'd recommend, if you will. It's actually, we've said this multiple times, Hillary and I, every season's been better than the last one.
I love it.
And it's been that way for us. We've loved it. But our kids are so close together. Like literally they're 19 months apart, the girls are. And then my second and third girl and boy is 15 and a half months. And then there are 23 months. So like we had 3 under 3, we had 4 under the age of 5. Okay. What we a lot of times had a tendency to do is to group parent. We're going to parent the girls this certain way. We're going to parent the boys this certain way, or we treat them like they're groups. And what we have had to multiple times realize is that, oh, Kaylin and Kinsey are different. Oh, Hudson and Griffin are different. And they're in different seasons. So I can't just put a rule and act like in order for us to parent the heart, which is ultimately what we've been trying to do, what we kind of walk through, we've had to realize is that, okay, they talk at different times. They open up at different times.
Yeah, you told me about that.
There's different buttons you got to be able to push. And we've got to really kind of step up and realize like it was so easy when they were younger to sort of somewhat schedule all of that.
Yeah.
Like our lives have probably so many crazy calendars because we kind of had to like schedule everything and schedule all their activities and whatever else. But there's so much of the meat of parenting, like the beauty of parenting, the heart of parenting that is not scheduled. Meaning when I'm ready to have a conversation doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to have that conversation. And when they're ready, I better be ready. Yeah. Right. And so therefore there's been multiple times that it's like, oh, I guess we're going here. Okay. And Hillary and I kind of look at each other and we hadn't quite talked it all out yet. And we don't know exactly how we're going to respond. Or what, Hillary and I have had this many times where I'll go into the bathroom and she's in there and I'll be like, so I just said this. Are we in agreement on this? Is this okay? And,
okay.
And you know, we've had a lot of preemptive conversations, but it just happens so quick and so fast that you got to step up into the moment, which is, again, I've talked about this before, why I feel like Hillary deals with this even more than I do. Man, I'm going to pray heaven down for her so that she's ready when she's having some of those conversations. Or when I'm in those moments there, I'm just, okay, Lord, I've said this multiple times. Okay, Holy Spirit, would you guide me right now? Just a prayer underneath my breath. And man, let's go. Let's have this conversation. And you don't want to put so much pressure like that one conversation is the all in all. But what I do, I've prayed this before. Lord, please help me handle this in such a way where I get a second run at this.
I like that.
Meaning I want to just I want to further and continue this relationship. But man, I will tell you this: parenting 4 teenagers has made you realize this: you can be as ready as you possibly can, and you should be, but you're never ready. And so therefore, if you wait around till you're ready, what you're going to do is miss the opportunities just to say, I don't know, let's figure this out together. Let's talk about this.
And what a comfort, you know, like for a kid to hear parents just go, well, let's figure it out. It's just good for them to see, you know, the process. And okay. So, you said yes to coming to United City.
I did.
Like, I mean, this was not like it was thrust upon you.
Right.
You said yes, but I would imagine that there was some, my servant is dead in that a little bit when you got here and you kind of had to step into some stuff, right?
I did. We've talked about it before. I mean, April 2nd, 2019, I remember I felt like I was really prepared. Like my past church and my pastor and just the people I was exposed to were so amazing and helpful. I remember driving into the parking lot thinking, oh gosh, here we go. It was daunting. It was daunting. What I realized rather quickly is that people want change. That's what they ask me to do until they get it. And then all of a sudden it becomes a bigger challenge. It's probably an episode in and of itself.
Yeah.
And man, there were multiple times I definitely had this thought. Did I make the right decision? Should I have done this?
Yeah.
'Cause it was hard.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. It was challenging. You were questioning. You're like, what are we even talking about? Right. You know, you're upset about something that didn't even do with me. Right. But it's so easy to get into that little pity party back and forth. And what I think I found very clearly in that moment was that you have to have that like, we'd already bought the house. Like, you know, we already put the house up. Like I'd already said it. Yeah. And it kind of allowed me to sort of step into the moment of, I've got you. Like I remember challenging the Lord, are you sure? And it's almost like him saying, look, I'm going to tell you how to fix this situation. Yeah. I need you to know this. I got you. Yeah. I'm going to be with you. Yeah. And that grounding myself in his presence, I think propelled me to be able to walk in confidence, knowing this. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I knew a lot. Yeah. I'd watch other people do it. But let me say something. Everybody listen to this podcast. There's a big difference between watching somebody else do something
and you doing it.
Oof, yeah. A huge difference. And I don't care how many training things you've been to, how many classes you've watched, how many mentor relationships that you've had. When your number's called and you're the guy, it's different. The weight is different. The accountability is different. The pressure is different. And I'm not saying any of those things are bad. What I am saying is that you got to step into it. Yeah. If God called you, then go. Moses, my servant, is dead.
Yeah. I remember coming to United City to, launch Young Adult Ministry, which it's just God's.
Dude, last night.
So nice. November was amazing. For salvation, God is just so incredibly kind. But again, there was really no one before me here doing that. But I did step into an environment where I was trained to kind of do like traditional college ministry. And I'm stepping in this. I'm like, I got no idea.
We're not a college town.
We're not a college town. I got no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. And I just remember a friend from Mississippi, Katie Bowles, she said, Josh, I am praying that God would give you early affirmations early and often. That's
good.
And that was such a beautiful prayer. And God did that. But PC, I got a question for you. What happens when you step up and things don't go well?
You got to do the same thing. Ground yourself in God's presence, because it doesn't mean that outward success is the only indication of whether this is what God wants you to do. Look, God may call you to something that may not get better immediately or ever. Yeah. Okay. I've got some guys I know that are dealing with marital situations, man. And it's like, it may not get better. I have to tell them to be honest, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to still step up. Yeah. You instead, if this is what God is leading you into, which if God's word says, I want you to stay with this person, I want you to pursue this person, I want you to do, then you got to step up and you got to do it and know this. Hey, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but what I am telling, because here's the thing, Joshua's story, it wasn't like everything went smooth sailing.
This is true.
Like he had grumbling people, whining and complaining all the time. They even get into the land, and then all of a sudden they're just like, we don't have anything to drink, and it's whining. Well, you're going to totally deal with that. That's called leadership. Yeah. Okay, but what I think it's important is that you don't cause that to be in a place to where you're just like not ever stepping up into what God calls you to do, unless you know, well, is this going to be look, some of the biggest risk takers ever, some of the biggest, most successful people we know from a business standpoint, you know what makes them successful is the fact that they all have stories of when they failed, of when they put all their money in and it didn't go well, right? And so what does it show you? Risk doesn't mean you just always hit. Risk means you're willing to step up, trust the Lord in the midst of all of this, and know that He's going to be with you whether you do well or whether you don't.
Yeah, and I would say, I do want to go back to something. I am so glad that you decided to stay.
I'm so glad you decided to stay.
Jen, I am so glad you decided. Our church is better. I think our community is better, and just everyone that's under your leadership is just grateful for you. But I would imagine that when you first got here, and you've kind of shared some of the story with me, you probably had to make some pretty difficult decisions early on. Sure. In those moments. Can you talk us through that just a little bit, PC, where it's like Yeah, can you just talk us through that a little bit, stepping up, having to make some tough decisions that aren't going to go over the smoothest from the beginning?
Yeah, which is why you've got to lead out of conviction, not consensus. Because if you lead out of consensus, it kind of goes back to the episode we did before about fear of man versus the fear of the Lord. If you lead out of that, man, you're going to constantly be questioning yourself.
It's so good.
And then you're going to be operating in a role that, yes, you've stepped up into, but at the end of the day, you're not allowing the presence of the Lord to guide and to lead you. You're instead letting the fanfare or not fanfare of the people to guide whether you think this is that I'm doing a good job. Yeah. And so I think early on what I had to do is realize is that I had to stick it out and say, okay, God, you're with me. This is the right thing to do. I got to roll. I got to go. I got to do this. We got to do these changes. We got to make these choices. We got to reorient the church to be able to be outward focused and not inward focused and all these types of things. The nice thing is that, man, I had the church had such a great foundation and had such a solid core group of committed believers who've been praying for this, who've been wanting this. But man, again, everybody wants change until they get it. Yeah. And I just want to encourage you, if you're somebody that stepped up and maybe it hadn't gone all wonderful, you got to go back to the same thing. Ground yourself in God's presence. Just as I was with Moses, I will be with you.
This has been such a good episode. We're actually nearing the end of it, but that's just the first. That's the first principle.
The next few verses are when it gets even really good.
Yeah.
There's so much that's there. And I think that come back next time, because I think that we're going to be able to talk through if you are stepping into a situation that maybe you don't feel ready for and capable of, but you're stepping into it. Yeah. And it goes well or it doesn't go well, the vital stuff coming up is where you get to put this stuff into practice and you get to see how I do that. Like, what does this look like for me to truly walk in his presence, stay close to his word, so that I can do what he says repeatedly in that passage, be strong and courageous.
You see, what's one challenge you'd give to men listening as we kind of come to the close?
Step up. I don't mean that flippantly. I think in some sense I would tell you some of you are in a position right now to where you have been given an opportunity, but you haven't set up that meeting with the pastor to deal with the sin. You haven't signed up for re-engage yet. You haven't done what you needed to do at the office to put yourself in a position to experience that promotion or that opportunity. You find yourself where maybe some things have caused you to have to step back because maybe you got laid off or maybe you got whatever it may be, and instead of you're sulking, you're kind of upset. It's time for you to step into what God's called you to do, knowing this, just as I was with Moses, so I will be with you.
Man, that's so good. And men, just if you find yourself in a situation like this, where like Moses, my servant or Joshua, my servant Moses is dead, just know that may be a surprise to you. That's not a surprise to God. The good news about our faith is that we serve a sovereign king who just sits outside of time and sees it. And so you're not alone. And there are many men that are listening to this podcast that are probably walking through the same thing as you. And so, guys, we love to hear how you're putting this into practice. Send us your stories online. Next week, we're going to continue this conversation with some practical ways to ground yourself in God's word when you actually are called to step up. But until then, remember, ready or not, it's your turn. I'm having to tell myself the same thing. Ready or not, it's your turn, and God's with you. Hey, guys, thanks so much for joining us on Step Up, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Step Up podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe, and share this episode to help us get the word out. We would love to hear from you. So please leave us a comment and even leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. For additional information or to reach out directly, please visit chriskouba.com. That's chriskouba.com. You can also follow Pastor Chris on social media and just search Chris Kouba. Kouba is Kouba. You can also follow United City Church on all socials at United City Church. That's going to be UNTD City Church. Thanks so much.